Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we had Ash versus Steven, and it actually delivered for me. I'm very happy to say. As you guys probably know, since I started making use of my YouTube channel, which I've actually had for a few years now, a little over a month ago with, Fallout involving Ash versus Alon. Um, I have been critical of the tournament, and while Ash vs. Salon was definitely, in my opinion, the worst of the four battles, my criticism of the tournament hasn't let up, and I've grown more and more impatient with it as time has gone by, with the issues I've talked about, with the battles feeling rushed and lack of Pokemon being called back or even dodging, which is a mechanic we've had since early Kanto. It's what makes the anime different than the static video games. No offense to them. I mean, the games would be much harder if the AI automatically had the option to dodge every time you try to do an attack. Maybe they'll make some kind of smart interface for that for future games. We'll see. Anyway, I really can't complain about this week's episode. And, I was thinking about when I was watching it, what makes a 10 out of 10 for me? A 10 out of 10 for me would be, for example, the final part of Ash's battle with Kukui, or Ash versus Paul. And it's one of those things where, it felt like a perfect episode. What would you improve on? And it's tricky because when you're thinking of what's a 9 out of 10, it's like, well, it's not perfect. But in the 9 category, you're kind of just thinking, well, what would I change that I'm not liking that's a 10? And I'm kind of feeling like it for this. So here's what I think I'm going to do tentatively. I'm going to give this episode a 10 out of 10. And the reason for that is pretty straightforward, honestly. So for me, the big issue here is while I was thinking of maybe going to a 9 out of 10, I mean, is this episode for me as magical as those kind of episodes? Another shout out being when Ash defeated Gary for the first time in the Johto League. Did it feel as magical? Maybe, maybe not. It's just really, I don't really want to be doing 0.5s that much. I know I've done that recently. I don't want to do it that often. I want to stick with, rounded numbers. So with that said, I don't know if I'm going to redact anything if upcoming battles are 10s out of 10s and I'm just throwing 10s out of 10s like they're candy. But at the same time, if that's not going to happen during the Masters 8 tournament, we're going to potentially see some incredible episodes. When will it? So maybe this is the point of the franchise to throw out 10s out of 10s. All right, so what happened that I'm so happy about this battle? Well, as we saw with Metagross, there was actual dodging involved. Finally. Also with Metagross, Steven called Metagross back at first, and I really liked that. They're finally doing what they should have been doing. Also, the pacing, maybe it's because they did do these things, it didn't feel as rushed. And there was notably probably a little bit more off battle conversations going on. Maybe about 3 or 4 minutes total, honestly. But with that said, maybe a little bit more, but it didn't feel rushed. It's like I've been saying in the past, you can do 3v3 battles in an episode without it feeling rushed. I'd encourage you to watch the episode. With these things, I don't want to necessarily do a recap, hit by hit by hit. There are other people on YouTube, real established Poketubers, who can do that for you if that's what you're looking for. Some recommendations, by the way, as I've said in the past, and I'll link some of these people in the description. Charusharu, I really love this guy's videos. He makes them fun and funny. He's much more experienced than I am with any kind of video program. Tomorrow, Lumio's trainer Zach's channel will be posting its review, probably maybe Sunday the latest. I like his channel the most when it comes to a comprehensive review with a scored number. KG Mundial, He's also he's got a Twitch, and that's where you can actually see his reactions, which are always fun to these videos. I'm gonna just keep the recommendations kind of small for now, not to get too off topic. I will say, one of the Poketubers who I usually agree with his opinions is uh, Pokefurlax, and there was one other person. The point I'm getting at, though, is their reactions were interesting. So I didn't agree with his opinion, where he felt, and he's not the only person. I guess there are some people who felt it was not enough on Pikachu's part to use its Z move on Metagross and then hit it with an Iron Tail to knock it out. I can see where people are coming from. It's Steven's strongest Pokemon, and it had Mega Evolved. Keep a few things in mind. Um, what's it called? Ash's creepy fish. That thing. Yeah. It did do some strong damage. He even used its ability, Strong Jaw. And it had stopped Metagross in its place. So keep in mind, it had already taken some damage. Yeah, it had rested a little bit, but not for hours on end. Also keep in mind, this was Pikachu's Z move, and it was knocked right out with an Iron Tail attack. I know that's Steel versus, a Psychic Pokemon. I'm a little rusty on some of the type configurations, but even if Steel doesn't have a specific advantage, just think of this. It's a Psychic type, so it's going to be vulnerable to physical attacks when they hit, and that did hit hard. So there you go with that. A lot of good things about this battle. Again, I won't do a complete recap, but I already said what happened with Metagross versus Ash's fish. But after that was Gengar, and Gengar went up against. You'll want to just watch this battle and just take my word for it. I'm just talking about some of the highlights, and what I enjoyed specifically. But when Gengar was used next, interesting move here. It used Will-O-Wisp, and that sure enough was the move that it learned while it was training. So when Ash was training with Paul, that was an important episode because remember, Paul set up that battle, and he used the Pokemon that he used, including Metagross, to get Ash ready for the battles ahead. So, that was very, very good. So let's see. I'm just going to pull up here some of the recap because I just want to make sure that you all have an idea of how it played out. So let's see. First things first. It was Gengar versus who was it? I'm trying to find it right here. Aggron, that's right. So Aggron, this is what I relate to this battle. Aggron, some people didn't like this, but Aggron ended up losing. Long story short, it took a lot of hits, but the big thing was the effect of being burnt by Will-O-Wisp. And I thought that was great because I don't think we've seen that before. I could be wrong, but I don't think we've ever seen a Pokemon faint because of a status effect in the show. I thought that was cool. Let's see. Steven then called out, just again, watch it, don't just take my word for all this, but it's that plant Pokemon with the really long tentacles. It's a Hoenn Pokemon. So it drains Gengar, knocks it out, etc., etc. Gengar puts up a really good fight, though. And then it's up to Pikachu. So Pikachu, with Ash being innovative, it jumps up the rocks that are thrown at it by, I think it's Stone Edge. And again, some people were kind of like, wait, why didn't, I'm sorry, actually, that was a different complaint that people used. Anyway, I thought that was great. Ash being outside the box, being very innovative and everything. And then finally, we had it going up against Metagross. Now, people had pointed out, it's kind of weird that it's not using psychic attacks. At least enough as it could be at one point in the battle. And I think it was a thing where the writers wanted to show what can be done, outside the box, and that opportunity would have been available if it had done so easily. Anyway, some people weren't satisfied with Pikachu taking as much of a hit as it took without fainting. Honestly, I feel like that kind of fixes the many years in the past when, like in Kanto, before Dark types were introduced, Psychic types were OP. So not just Mewtwo, not just Psyduck when it had a headache, but you remember Ash versus Sabrina? That Kadabra was really OP. It really shouldn't have been that strong, but the anime logic was Psychic types are OP. Okay, fine. So with that said, here's that final assessment. It was a very good battle, in my opinion. It was definitely league quality. And if this is Ash's third to last battle ever, can I say this was better than Ash versus Alon or Ash versus Paul? No. But maybe I'll be able to say that about versus Leon versus Cynthia. So I'm just going to be very generous because I'm in a very good mood with this. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. There isn't anything particularly I would have changed or fixed to make it better. Even though maybe it's not as good as other 10 out of 10s. Lastly, so a lot of people some people cynically have been, and genuinely, have been saying, well, they were even more excited for some of the Hoenn reappearances. So off the top of my head, we had Drew, we had Harley, we had Tyson, we had Masamune, and other characters too, Kelly, and a few other people, including some characters of the day. So there was the Spinda filler back in the day. Those characters appeared. It was very good representation. Now, let's get to the gorilla in the room that some people weren't happy about. So we didn't see May or Max, and people aren't happy about that. Kind of like last week we didn't see Silent with the Unova representation. All right, think about this, guys. Just think about it for a minute. We have had all of Ash's other travel campaigns reappear at least once. The writers know that these characters exist, especially if they're bringing up filler characters from a random Spinda episode. So I'm very certain we'll see everyone in the stands rooting for Ash by the time we get to Ash versus Leon, if not Ash versus Cynthia. One good thing that is coming out of the random break that they're having during this is it'll give the characters in the story time to show up at these things. I'm not going to take points away from it, but it is kind of annoying how Professor Oak and Dalia have this really weird habit of not coming out to support Ash unless he gets like really far. I might be misremembering, but I think they showed up with Ash versus the girl with the really strong Bellsprout in the Kanto League. Only at that point. No, I think it was as late as Ash versus Richie, because there was a whole setup episode before that. I believe they appeared also in the Johto League very late. Might be misremembering that. Anyway, it's cool. We see in the preview they will show up. They will be in the stands. But it's really weird at the same time, like in this early battle, that they're not bothering. They're kind of thinking, well, if he doesn't have a chance of actually winning the whole thing, why bother showing up? It's not like getting to a league or this tournament isn't enough of a big deal, right? I mean, clearly they can drop everything and watch this on the TV, but they can't be bothered to, quickly fly. I'm saying quickly because Journeys, it almost makes it comical how quick Ash and Go are able to get from one region to another. So I'm very happy about this. It makes me hopeful for the rest of the tournament actually being very good and living up to the standard that it should have. Some people have recently started saying they've learned to accept the battles with a Journey's perimeter, which is lower than what you would expect at this point compared to like Kalos or something. I'm not going to be so forgiving, so I'm not backtracking and reduxing any past ratings I've done for the 3 episodes leading up to this. But with a standard that I am not setting lower, the episode is getting the rating that's getting. All right, so up ahead, two things involving the show, one involving my channel. Uh, so, with the show, we have a two-parter, as I alluded to in one of my last videos, about Koharu and Eevee. The very next episode looks like it might be nothing more than just a recap. I don't know why. If they are going to make a two-parter, don't waste time with a recap. We'll see. Those episodes will be judged when I watch them. I'll be honest, it's arbitrary. Depending on my mood, I may not take a point, or even though I'm trying to avoid this, half a point off for them just putting this episode in the middle. I'm not happy about that, honestly. It's like if someone took a point off for the Axu missing episode, or the episode in the Candle League where half of it is them running around and Team Rocket trying to capture Pikachu. That's the one where Ash was in the second and third battles, respectively, in the Candle League. Although that episode did do a lot for in-universe building for the league, talking about how trainers get meals and free meals and where they stay. It was actually interesting. But the point is, if someone were to take points off for that, I wouldn't blame them. So we'll see. I do think it's cute and it's cool how, like, with Team Rocket doing their own little thing for the next episode preview thing, they have that going on with Mimey. That's great. And any day now, we will probably, because it's July 22nd now, we will probably get leaked episode titles for August. Somebody said something about there possibly being a week off after this two-parter because of the Sonic movie. I hope not. I was thinking if they can do it, if they were able to do it this week, they'll be able to do it again. They could do 6v6 parters. 6v6 battles as two parters if it's done properly. Don't waste too much time on other things. So, I mean, it's not impossible. By the time it's September, we'll have Ash versus Leon. And if in that universe they're taking these breaks, maybe so each opponent can rest their Pokemon, there's probably going to be another break in between the semifinals and the finals. That's probably where they'll get Project Mew in, because it would be very awkward to do that if, to do Project Mew after the league. They did something similar with Kalos, the whole save the world from Team Flare thing, but this doesn't seem as epic, as cool as Mew is. So Ash winning, defeating Leon seems like a good final episode. If they do write the Rocket Trio off, if they write Ash off for being Leon, like I said, loose ends, they ought to wrap up the Team Rocket organization. This thing with Project Mew, with Regigigas and Mew, maybe Giovanni trying to, honestly, because his memories were wiped from the events of, Mewtwo returns, etc. So he's forgotten about Mewtwo, but who knows? Maybe he'll hear that Mew exists, and not even knowing that he's redoing what he's done before, maybe he'll try to capture Mew. So we'll see. That's all speculation. I'm the only person talking about this, really. I'm pretty... I think it's common sense. It'd be very weird to keep the Team Rocket organization, which is not relevant 20 years later from the old games, if they're not going to keep the trio. I think it'd be really weird if the trio is falling around another trainer. I do think it's very likely Ash is going to beat Leon. It'd be weird for Ash to stay on the show as the strongest trainer. What's he going to do at that point? It's not capture every Pokemon that was Go's goal. It would just be a weird holdover. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Last but not least, the few people who have... My first video obviously got much more views. YouTube terms, nothing, obviously. Not even peanut shells. I am aware these ones have not gotten as much love and attention, which is fine. I'm just a guy talking into a camera. And I'll address this very frankly. What I would aspire for this video channel to be is something on the quality of videos like Sharu's or Lumia's trainer Zach. The fact is, though, I do not have the money right now to buy a microphone, to purchase a video program for my Mac and learn how to properly make videos. I'm Not gonna lie, I could probably with QuickTime, that's what I use, learn how to cut and edit, which is getting to the other point. I have things going on in my life outside of the Pokemon anime, and they're time consuming. Potential career prospects coming up for the fall. This fall will be the 20th anniversary that I've been crippled with myalgic encephalomyelitis, also has chronic fatigue syndrome, and it's getting worse each year. All you need to know is I always feel like I haven't slept, which is, it's honestly terrible. It's a nightmare. And so it's something that has to get my attention over these videos. The plan would be, especially if I can get this kicked once and for all, within a year to make these videos better quality. But right now, I don't want to wait a whole year before getting my opinions out there. I like doing these videos. And honestly, I think they're kind of cute with the lack of editing, seeing all the ums and the uhs, instead of me just sticking to a script or spending hours editing. I reached out to a Poketuber recently, and his 10-minute videos take him about 10 hours. With my medical condition, they would probably take a lot more. Lastly, another thing I'm planning on doing over the next few months is losing some weight. So in the last 3 years, I put on weight that I had kept off for 11 years. And also, I'm probably going to invest in a wardrobe specifically for videos. Finally doing something creative with this hair, which I have grown out on purpose. Anyway, that's about it. So if you have been watching this, all I can say is if these videos become higher quality in the future, you saw the early beginnings. It's nice to know that there might be one or two people at least who do care about my opinions about this and like to hear me ramble on. And that's about it. I'm about to make one more video, actually, involving a different franchise that I follow. And I might even do a second one on another one. Kind of on a roll tonight. Have a good one, guys.